Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit that subscribe button if you're new so you don't miss any of our great football content this season. This episode is presented by Uber Eats. When football makes you hungry, order Uber Eats. I do every weekend. All right, time to look at this weekend's tastiest matchup in this week's Sunday Night Football, brought to you by Uber Eats, a company I use all the time. All right, John Middlekauff, former NFL scout, 3 and Out is his podcast. We do our Sunday night hour plus, a lot to talk about. Let's not waste any time. Philly beats Kansas City 2017, although the deep over-the-top throw by Mahomes made it feel kind of closer than it was. It did feel like in the second half, John, Philadelphia in my lifetime does a better job at one thing than any team I've ever seen. If they need a yard, 2 yards, or 3 yards, between the O-line, Hurts, Saquon, and some of their sort of counter tight end rollout moves, I mean, it's just automatic. They are so good. And Hurts, let's be honest, Hurts trailing in the pocket is not my favorite guy in the league. I don't think that's his specialty. But I really, this is one of those games. There was never a point. I kept thinking Philadelphia is going to eventually wear this team down. And I'm kind of surprised Kansas City clawed their way back. What are your basic interpretations from what you saw?
I thought going into that drive where Travis hits off his hands and they pick it off and they take it to the 50. And that tackle, Josh Simmons running down the field to save the game. I thought if Kansas City scored there, now I don't know if they could slow down Philly. They had that time, but you just never know with Saquon and, like you said, some big playmakers. They were just going to have to win that game on guile, toughness, and it was going to be, if they had pulled that off, let's say Kelsey catches it, or that doesn't happen and they score, just an incredible championship, medal type game for them.
Yeah.
But they don't have much right now. Worthy being hurt, Rice being suspended.
Yeah.
I thought Travis was having a good game until that moment. Obviously, Patrick missed, Thornton earlier in that drive where he ended up hitting him, which might have given them a little more time. They wouldn't have had to force it. Let's face it, Kansas City right now, I expected defensively, they got shredded last game against Herbert. And Hurts shredded them in the Super Bowl. So I knew that they were going to bring it defensively. But offensively, they got an old Kelsey, Hollywood Brown. Their running backs are okay. They run hard, but are they starting on most good teams in the league?
John, yeah, I think they'll be fine when they get Rashee Rice back in 4 weeks. I think they will. I think they'll find their way. Denver losing a game they should have won today, that's a huge break for them. So, that game ends up being big for them.
Well, in Monday Night Football, someone has to lose between the Chargers and the Raiders, so you're not They're not running away with you yet.
Yeah, but I did feel, and Chiefs fans don't want to hear this, but I felt like Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, Sirianni was coaching with a lot of confidence. Like when they took a lead, his whole thing was, guys, we can just ground this out. Let's not take any big. They did take one big shot down the field to Devontae Smith, and they hit on that. But I felt Philadelphia's kind of felt like, okay, we're on the road. We have the better roster. We're going to grind these guys out in the second half. And it was just one of those things, especially after that interception on the deflection. And let's be honest, if you have a great coach, great coordinator, Spags, and a great quarterback at home after you were humiliated in the Super Bowl, the game was going to be close. The line was 1.5. It was. I said it Friday on the Herd. I'm like, guys, it's going to be a close game late, and Philadelphia will situationally get a key first down or 4 and win. So the game kind of looked like I thought, but I thought Philadelphia, I felt in the fourth quarter, John, they felt they had the game. It's like they brought in a closer in baseball. And they kind of, how many times did they use the tush push today? 7, 9?
A lot. Well, Brady mentioned it, though, on the goal line play where the two guys jumped off sides. They didn't call it, and that obviously was a huge play in the game. I do think the Chiefs, they gave it everything they have. They just don't have much right now. And one elephant in the room is Kelsey's old now. Now, granted, he was having a good game relative to what he's been in the regular season, but, man, that play where the dude picks it off and takes it to midfield and they end up scoring was a crippling moment for a team. This is not the 2019, 2020, 2021 version. They cannot score against, let's face it, they're playing Vic Fangio, who's one of, if not the best defensive coordinator in the league, with just a really good defensive personnel right? I mean, you see
Right.
Jordan Davis look how that guy physically looks fantastic. Obviously, Jalen Carter's one of the best players. Vaughn, all their defensive backs. Mitchell's a really good player. So that's a tough loss. I mean, that's pretty devastating because you threw everything you had. Your coaching was
Yes.
at a high level. Your quarterback was just trying to will his way, uh,
Yep.
and you're just still not good enough, right? So you've had
Yeah.
two straight weeks, right? The Eagles are going to be one of the best teams in the league all
Right.
season long. The Chargers, obviously, if Herbert's going to play at that level, they're going to be an awesome team. And you've lost two games, right, against really good teams. That's where it's like you hope once these guys come back,
Yeah.
Rice off the suspension, if Worthy can get healthy, you're just going to have to win these games off guile and
Yep.
toughness. But eventually you kind of run out of gas, right?
Right. And Denver's got a better roster, but Denver gave that game away late today against Indy. 3 dumb penalties in the last 420. So again, you get a break in division, and the Chargers probably beat the Raiders. So, I still contend they're going to be a wild card team in this division. They'll be fine. That was this week's Sunday Night Football, brought to you by Uber Eats. When football makes you hungry, get game day deals on Uber Eats. I do every week. The official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. I just did. A game that was hard to watch, but I watched almost all of it. Detroit 52, Bears 21. Outside of Roma Dunze for the Bears, not much worked. I was... And by the way, the Lions, they go for it. So not kicking field goals, that's just who they are. That's Dan Campbell. So you got to get over that Bears fan. But I got to tell you, I watched that game today, and after the first drive, take the first drive out, last couple of weeks, Bears have looked fine. It's a timing offense. And Caleb Williams does not appear to see the field once he's off script, and it just becomes ad-libbing. It's backyard football. I don't think this is going to work. I don't. It's the second week in a row. The first series, again, they dial up. They got about 8 to 10 plays. It looks fine. It's very tight. But how many plays can you script? And then they go off script, and Caleb doesn't see the field particularly well. And then he's flushed out of the pocket. He made 6, 7, 8 throws today, rolling to his right. He just kind of threw it up for grabs. A couple were picked, a couple were caught. But I'm looking at my notes here, and I just keep writing. They're ad-libbing. Again, ad-libbing. There's just nothing about it except Roma Dunze. You'd feel good. By the way, Luther Burden, Missouri. Did he play? Did he suit up? Loveland, the kid from Michigan. Cortland Loveland. Or is it Loveland Cortland? I forget. The Michigan, Michigan tight end.
He had no catches. Zero.
So they have weapons. They've drafted good players. They can't get them the ball. I think this thing could go sideways real fast.
You know what I wrote down? I watched 2 documentaries in the last week, Billy Joel and Charlie Sheen. And whenever they get married, you could see the divorce coming from a mile away, especially with Charlie. And in this situation, I've been saying it it doesn't just speak for quarterbacks. In the NFL, you could be a talented player, and Caleb, to me, is a major question mark. But we have seen Hall of Fame guys get with the wrong coordinator and it not work. Scheme is, in basketball, whatever plays you're running, if I'm a great player, you're going to make it work, and I'm not going anywhere. That's not the way football works. Then you factor in, like you said, there was an interception he threw today. There was classic USC. He rolls to his right, hero ball, throws an awful pick. It leads to a touchdown. I can't remember if it was 14-14 at the time or 21-14, but it was one of those plays. They show Ben Johnson getting really mad. That cannot happen, right? Obviously, there are going to be plays where nothing's there. The Lions are going to be hard to beat at home. I like the Lions a lot today in this game, but I didn't expect to see 50-20 or whatever the final score was. But this is a marriage that is not meant to be. Their styles do not mesh up. And we have seen time and time again that these coordinators with quarterbacks, when I do not pick you, here's the thing with Bo Nix, who threw a bad second half pick. He played an excellent first half, but Sean Payton is tied to him. That's his guy. He loved him, right? There is that power of when I draft you, when I believed in you from before you become an NFL player is powerful. That is not. Ben Johnson took this job, maybe intrigued by Caleb, but you see through 2 weeks his mannerisms on the sideline with his face, and this wasn't Eberflus' game. This was pretty embarrassing. It's not all Caleb's fault. This was not he was worse last week, But this is not this. The Bears are a joke, Colin. You and I have been talking. The
You know what?
organization. I wrote down Ryan Poles. Is this roster the most overrated roster we've heard in that last couple of years? Listen, the Lions are missing players from last year, and that looked like Georgia playing Cal Poly or something. It was crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny. I remember before Caleb got drafted, a good friend of mine is Steve Keim. And I said, what do you make of jumping in the stands for Caleb Williams with his mom and crying and the fingernail polish? And Steve's not a real judgmental guy. And Steve was like, don't love it. I'm not, he goes, if a guy's talented, he's talented. He goes, but he's a very emotional player. And he goes, and Steve has taught me this through the years, like quarterback's one of those positions where you really need somebody that's even keel and puts out fires. Football's an incredibly emotional game. And as your teammates are getting emotional and the coaches are getting emotional, when you're on, Tom Brady loved to celebrate, but in the moment of a game, Tom was very even keel. And Caleb's you can see his sideline demeanor. He plays with a ton of emotion, and he gets really amped up. He also loses. I think sometimes Caleb loses confidence when I watch him. Like his accuracy is all over the map. So that feels like a confidence and mechanics issue. And I don't know. I just look at it and I think this coach wants a certain quarterback stylistically, probably much more like Sean Payton, where you can augment the timing game with, Bo Nix and Sean, they move the pocket a lot for Bo Nix, as you should. But I sat there today and my notes are all negative on Chicago. Well, I'm fired up to announce Hard Rock Bet as the Volume's new presenting sponsor. Everybody knows Hard Rock hotels and casinos are iconic for entertainment. Well, now the Hard Rock Bet app brings more energy and excitement than ever to the world of sports betting. What does it mean for you? Well, here at the Volume, you'll start to see us use Hard Rock Bet's lines when talking about the biggest games, college or pro. We'll give you all the crazy stats from Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub, which is right there in the app. Plus, we'll be taking the show on the road, doing live broadcasts, meet and greets right from the Hard Rock properties down in Florida. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app's the only legal sportsbook whenever you're in Florida. It's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado, with more states coming soon. So right now is the perfect time to sign up. All you have to do is place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll score $150 in bonus bets on top of your winnings. That's $150 more dollars for you to bet this football season. If you're in New Jersey, you can also hit the Hard Rock Bet Casino app. It has all the same casino games you'd play at one of their properties. All your favorite games from Atlantic City, practically everything you want to bet across every sport, all in the same top-rated, nearly 5-star app. So head over, sign up today, join us as we get this party started with Hard Rock Bet, and roll with us all football season.
There was a couple plays today and I'll take the L on Jalen Hurts. I never thought in a million years he would be a functional NFL quarterback, let alone a Super Bowl champion. And we can debate where he ranks or whatever, but there were a couple plays today where Spags brings the entire house. And he sits in there to the last second, and he throws his one-on-one matchup, and he's going to get just mollywopped. And one, he hit the Smith, and I think he missed another one. But it's just, this guy just kind of knows what he's doing. And he's a athletic ad-lib in theory, but he can play in big spots. Caleb, sometimes there's pressure and there's nothing you can do, you got to kind of scramble. There are times where it's just like he's just taking off. For years, Mark Schlereth was one of the only guys saying, everyone acts like these offensive linemen in Seattle suck. Maybe some of it's Russell Wilson, right? And remember, he would just run into sacks. And you watch him today, when that head goes down and you just scramble into guys, that is quarterback 101 that the coaches hate. Right, head down, and his head goes down, and then he moves all the time. Like Mahomes, whether he misses or makes the throw, his head's always up moving around. Jalen Hurts, head always. Even Kyler. Kyler's head is up. Now, he scrambles probably sometimes at the wrong time, but his head's up looking to throw. Caleb just looks in the ground, and then it becomes there's no way this is sustainable. Obviously, you start losing like this, but Ben Johnson's not going down with the ship with this guy. Why? Because Sean Payton will go down with Bo Nix, right? That Andy Reid will go down with Mahomes. I'm not comparing those two situations, but my point is, I'm all in on this guy. You can't convince me after a couple weeks that Ben Johnson is going to be all in with this guy for 17 games.
Listen,
It's not possible. They're
listen.
clearly the worst team in there. I mean, the Packers look like a juggernaut. We saw the Lions. Turns out they're not as bad. Why? Because the Packers are really good. And
Yeah,
we'll see how Minnesota looks tonight. But clearly, Minnesota's they just beat the Bears. So I mean,
yeah,
they're just a better operation. The Bears are in major trouble, Colin.
yeah. And I there's a reason in the preseason that Ben Johnson made a point. I mean, remember, we came on this podcast and we said he was glowing with Tyson Bagent. He's so smart. Man, he's having a great camp. And about a week later, they signed him to a very big backup contract. I think Caleb gets one more start. And if it's ugly, can Ben come out and go, listen, Caleb's going to be fine. You sell that to the media. But he needs a week off. He needs to get some stuff right. We need to figure out a way to get this ship going. I could see one more start. I really could. And then you go to Tyson Bagent.
I would say you're crazy because once you bench him, you're done. But we just saw last year, and who knows? I mean, Bryce Young is any good or not. I have my reservations at this point. But Panthers just did it, and he was the #1 overall pick as well. So there's precedent in the league of like, hey, you can bench a guy, bring him back. What are the Bears going to do? Lose more games? I mean, what are we talking about at this point? So yeah, I would say moving forward, everything's on the table. And if you're Ben Johnson, like you clearly don't care about feelings. You know, the one thing I
Yeah.
didn't quite realize, he's wired. You know, he's not like a loosey-goosey offensive coach, you know, like Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay always smiling. Like he feels more like a Shanahan son, like kind of angry, never smiles.
Yeah.
Like this is just it's way I bet against it to jump from the jump. It's way uglier than I thought. And today was like a referendum, not just on Caleb, the entire organization. I mean, Ryan Poles, the roster.
And here's the other thing. I've watched Penix. I would make a bet now that he can play. I've watched J.J. McCarthy to some degree, and it helps that he has Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, but he'll be able to play. Bo Nix can play. Jaden's a star. Drake May doesn't have a ton of pocket presence, but again, today he moves the chains. I don't think he's great. I think he needs another year. I mean, that's what they said about Drake May when he came in. He is unrefined. But it is very possible from what I've seen, and it's not close. We're going to have 5 hits and 1 miss. And the #1 guy is going to be the worst quarterback in the class.
I think the thing with Caleb Williams, yeah, I mean it's sure headed that way right now. I mean he's a disaster. I don't care what stats you give me last year. 'Cause I think when you have that great of an arm, and Caleb has a fantastic arm,
Oh,
I think sometimes you, and which is human nature, maybe you struggle to develop other parts of your game, and the touch on his ball, to me, that's glaring. Like he just has no touch on the ball, and he's one of those guys that feels like he really struggles to kind of throw a softball, a changeup, because watching him play, did you realize he was this good of an athlete in college? Like I knew he could scramble around, but he moves really well. If he had time,
and he's thick in person when you see him, his head, his shoulders. He's 6 feet tall. He feels when you're around him like he's 6'4". He is thick and powerful.
and wasn't that the thing with young Russ Wilson? It's like, wait, hey, he's got a huge arm, throws a great deep ball, but Russ had a lot of touch, and maybe it was that was he a second baseman? He had some feel
Yeah.
to him. And you watch Caleb, like he could not play second base. That ball would be Chuck Knobloch all over the place.
Right.
And that to me is where you get the Ben Johnson stuff. Is like, well, a huge part of his offense and his entire scheme is touch plays. Look at Jared Goff today. A lot of it, I mean, he threw a couple bombs, but it's a lot of just get the ball out of your hands, couple steps, throw it across the middle, hit guys in stride. Even if you miss a little bit, throw it behind, give him a catchable ball. Caleb throws some balls that even Randy Moss or Jerry Rice in their prime would have a problem catching.
Yeah, he rolls out a lot. I think the one point you made that I really agree with is that he just puts his head down and he is now a running back. And then it's just not working. Again, Roma Dunze is a very good player, but where's Luther Burden, this kid from Missouri? I mean, Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan. Where are they? I mean, it's just, you've got to use. I mean, I'm watching all these. Bo Nix is getting everybody touches for the Denver Broncos. Franklin, the Oregon kid, Mims, everybody's the tight ends. I mean, he's spraying the ball around. Everybody's getting touches. I mean, in Chicago, it's like if you're the GM, you got to be watching this thing and, bro, these are good players. So I'm almost interested in watching Tyson Bagent. I think offensively, I think they actually have some skill, and they're not. Caleb's not equipped to get him the ball.
Well, look at, and I'm sure we'll talk about this game, is the thing that stood out to me. Now, whether they got lucky to win the game, we could probably argue all day long. Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
Obviously, in a perfect world, you would get a star quarterback. But if you just get me a point guard that can get me double digit assists, even if he can't score. Now, and Daniel Jones actually is playing pretty well this year, but
Yeah.
they got good players. They got
Yes.
3 or 4 wide receivers. They got this top 10, or I guess he was the 15th pick.
Warren, the tight end.
He was making plays all day. They have a star running back, and you're
Yep.
watching a guy just distribute, and you're like, this team's pretty physically gifted on the skill
Yeah.
positions, right? But
Right.
you didn't feel that with Anthony Richardson because balls are skipping, he's running, he's getting sacked, and Daniel Jones just get it to the guys, get it to the
They
guys.
scored
They're
on
just
their
making plays.
They were 10 for 10 in their first 10 possessions this year. And to your point, their roster is excellent. I don't think Indy's a great team, but it's a prime example is they have a good roster and they're using every player on their roster offensively. Every single one is contributing. Okay, let's talk Dallas 40, New York Giants 37 in the early window has given us some gems. I mean, there were 5 lead changes in the fourth quarter. Dallas prevails. Russell Wilson played brilliantly. He had a terrible pick on an alley-oop ball in overtime. Dak had a huge run that set up the game-winning field goal. I think my takeaway in this was that until that terrible pick in overtime, I thought both quarterbacks played really, really well. And it did remind me a little bit of old Russ, where Russ was good moving, Russ was good on stuff underneath 12 yards and closer, and Russ was good deep. The problem is and Neighbors and Ware are both good deep receivers. The problem is if he doesn't have that and you ask him to dissect a defense with seam routes, that's not what he does. He can move around and he throws a really nice deep ball. Now, he had one terrible pick in OT, but it did look, Jackson Dart came in for a play or two, but it did look a little bit like the old Russell Wilson, did it not?
It did. And listen, I'm not trying to diminish what we witnessed. It was fun throughout the game. His pick had a little, I would say, reminiscent of like that Favre pick in a playoff game out of nowhere because he's playing a great game and all of a sudden the ball down the middle of the field. The Cowboys defense could just be horrendous. Like they could be really, really bad because it's not normal to throw go routes over and over. And you don't do that against any other team. And I think Olsen pointed this out. Like there is no disputing in his heyday, he was as good of a deep ball, go ball, airing it out quarterback as we've ever seen. I mean, definitely of his era, he's the best. I mean, you see Mahomes overthrow. I mean, he throws a beautiful go route, and it was fun to watch. I also think that there was a moment that got the Cowboys. They have this weapon. I mean, the kid didn't even play college football. He was a Notre Dame soccer player.
Oh, yeah, Brandon
Colin,
Aubrey.
you've been watching football longer than me. When have you ever seen people comfortable kicking 60-plus yard field goals? I mean, this is unheard of. I mean, that would have been good from 70 yards. But the Giants, part of zone defense is you go to spots, right?
Yeah.
There's a point in time in football where it's like you can't just drop to your landmark when the game is on the line and Ferguson's running right down the field. Move over a couple yards and cover him. They just gave Dak Prescott and Ferguson like a 20-yard gain, and it put Brent. And it's like that's low-level football. And that play won't be talked about, but you should never allow them. And even Olsen's like, why are they playing so far off? You're just giving them they got good skill players. I mean, the Giants should have. I can't even imagine if you're Brian Daboll, like if I can't win this game, what game am I going to win?
Yeah, and I've defended Brian Daboll, but there were 26 penalties in this game. I thought the Giants multiple times had this game won. I will say this. I was harsh. Maybe I'm too harsh sometimes, but Brian Schottenheimer had not interviewed for a head coaching job in 14 years. And the people in the league that I talked to, he's an old school offensive coach. Now he's an offensive coach, but he's very old school. He's not innovative and creative. He's not like a lot of these guys that Liam Cohen's or a McVay or a Kevin O'Connell. But I will say he is a walk-around coach where he lets his assistants coach. Now maybe that bites him later. But I got to tell you, when I watched Dak, Dak is comfortable. George Pickett is made an immediate impact. They're getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb. I think their offensive line's playing pretty well.
It definitely is.
Well, yeah, their secondary is not great. I mean, it's just their defensive personnel isn't great, but their offensive personnel is okay, and they look fairly well coached. I always judge this. Are you getting the ball to the right people? They are. They're getting the ball to the right players. And, I'll say this for Dak. I mean, I think his number's 33 of 45, 293 yards. I think, sometimes you have these surgeries and you're never the same. And sometimes you have them, they clean stuff up. I think Dak's got some juice. I think he looks really alive and really active. And even though they're only 1-1 and could be 0-2, they went straight up against Philadelphia, played them as close or better than Kansas City, and they won a game they could have lost, all those lead changes. I think Dallas, even though they're just 1-1, is one of the surprises of the league so far. They look very competent. JLAB has the best audio products in the game. At affordable prices, not going to break the bank. Wireless earbuds, I love them. Luxury noise canceling over the ear headphones. Portable Bluetooth speakers. They just launched the active noise canceling Epic Pods with more than 40 hours of playtime, 6 dedicated microphones, and a 2-year warranty. And JLAB partners with some of the top athletes in college football, from Ohio State's Julian Sand to Indiana's Fernando Mendoza. JLAB is getting involved in college football's most exciting time, bowl season. They're now the proud sponsor of the Birmingham Bowl. Mark your calendars. JLAB just announced title partner of the JLAB Birmingham Bowl, Monday, December 29th. It's where tradition meets tough competition, top teams from the SEC, American, and ACC. Last year's matchup brought the heat, high-scoring SEC and ACC battle. This year promises even more football glory. Don't miss the pageantry, the passion, and the pride of Birmingham on full display. The JLAB Birmingham Bowl, Southern football done right. Visit JLAB.com or find the blue box at a retailer or an airport near you. That's where I found them. That's JLAB.com.
I'll say this, George Pickens, for the majority of playoff teams, I don't think they would mess with. Like, I can't see Sean McVay dealing with them. I can't see Sean McDermott dealing with them, because there'll be plays that are there to be made, and he just kind of like, whatever, kind of puts his hands up. But then he also makes really good plays once the ball is in his hands. And listen, when you are the Cowboys coach, you don't pick the players. You have nothing to do with the roster. You just coach the team.
Right.
And they are force-feeding him the ball, and he has added an element to their team that, let's face it, they didn't have last year, because they didn't have a number 2 wide receiver. So to go along with CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson's a good player. Javonte Williams, he was a hyped guy coming out of college, had that bad knee injury. He's playing,
Yes.
he just gives them, they did not have a running back last year. They had no running back. So you get him, like you said, there. If you told me Brian Schottenheimer took over the Bears, he would be done from the beginning, like most guys probably. But some of these, Dak is a professional quarterback.
Yes,
and if he's going to be healthy, that is, it's a pretty good landing spot. Now defensively, how many games are you going to win? 43-40 or whatever the hell the fight.
They don't have a lot.
No.
And by the way,
they're going to lose a lot of games because they can't stop a soul. But offensively, which is his side of the ball, they have been really good through 2 games. Really good.
Yeah, and again, it's it's hard to predict who's going to work. Half of these coordinators don't work at all. Liam Cohen today with Jacksonville, Jesus, he's barking at Trevor Lawrence. Brian Thomas doesn't want to. He's shying away from contract. That thing could unravel. It's Jacksonville. It could unravel by next week. Zach Taylor can't win in September. Burrow's hurt again. There's a lot of offensive coaches. We don't know how good they are. So, and a lot of, it's just very hard in this league to know. We knew Andy Reid was going to succeed when he went to Kansas City. We knew Harbaugh was going to succeed with the Chargers. Dan Quinn felt like, he knows what he's doing with Cliff Kingsbury. But with Brian Schottenheimer, I've got to be fair about this, is I didn't think it was going to work. I thought he was over his head. But, here's the other thing. Dak was good with Jason Garrett. He was good with Mike McCarthy. And Dak is good with Brian Schottenheimer. Dak's pretty good.
Yeah, he is. I just think, we just have to embrace, he is what he's the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th guy. He's never going to be a top 5 quarterback. And if you get him the personnel, a running game, the offensive line, here's where I'll give Jerry / his personnel people credit. Look at the Bears. Rome had a good game, And I'd
Yeah.
say relative to where he's been drafted, pretty underwhelming, right? Relative to, I think people were hoping he'd be a superstar, and we'll see. But like, if you could do that over, they would have taken offensive lineman. If you were the Bears, taking a tackle, the kid from Penn State, right? If they
Right.
could do it, that's who you would take. Jerry, they are valuing. They traded Micah Parsons, but they drafted him high. They draft pass rushers, defensive linemen, offensive linemen. Like they do have the right
Hey,
philosophical belief on how to build a team.
and John, remember when the Lakers traded Shaq? They were going to lose that trade the first 2 years because Shaq went to Miami. But it was the right decision. Shaq fell apart physically, didn't practice as hard. So you just had to eat a dirt sandwich for a year, knowing you'd get crushed if you were the Lakers because you traded the much more likable and popular Shaq, who went to an excellent organization and won a title. But over a course of the next 8 years, Kobe, who was obsessed with practice and games, was the better move. When you traded Micah to Green Bay, you are going to lose for a year. You're going to lose that trade.
Yeah.
But next draft, Dallas could turn those 2-1s because Dak's playing at a high level. They don't need a quarterback. If they end up with an 11th pick, somebody's moving up for a quarterback. And they could get another 2, another 3, another 4. Dallas may be able to, and next year's draft is considered above average. Dallas could restock its entire roster next year. So, yeah, you're going to lose the Mike because Micah's playing for the Packers. And it's a team that just needed Micah. They just needed a playmaker. And so you're going to be reminded every Sunday or Monday, God, what were we doing? Wait till April, and Dallas is going to look really smart.
The timing for Jerry should have done it before the draft. But obviously, once he did it, he didn't want to trade him to the Packers. Did you read the story? He tried to trade him to the Jets. And they're like, yeah, we just want the money or whatever. So at least Jerry knew. And Philly gave him the best offer, but obviously you can't trade him to Philly.
Right.
But Green Bay, were you a little surprised that they were really the only team willing? Because obviously not shocked at all Howie and Jeffrey Lurie were willing, but none of the AFC teams, and I understand cap-wise it'd be a little, but if you're Buffalo, I mean, imagine if Buffalo had done that.
Well, in Green Bay, because if you really look at what Green Bay is, they have their quarterback, they have their weapons, they have their interior linemen, they have their tight ends, they have their coach, they have their star back. They're one of those teams that can give away first-round picks the next 2 years. They really can. I mean, what they can't guarantee is that Micah would be available because they're going to draft deep at the end of the first round. So Green Bay's like, we can get a guy that would be a lottery pick player. We never get into the lottery pick. We give up a 1. So I think it makes a ton of sense for Green Bay. Dallas needs players. I mean, their defense, you could go into next year's draft, which is a good quarterback draft. If Dallas' first 6 picks were defense, you'd be like, yeah, absolutely. You could see them doing that. They maybe a running back some point in the first 5 picks, but I think it works for both teams. It's just going to look bad for Dallas until April.
Well, and one thing, watching the Chiefs today, who obviously are going to be good on defense and have excellent team speed. Jalen couldn't just run around today. And if you're the Packers, like, who are the top couple teams you need to beat? Well, it's obviously the Eagles. And remember that playoff game against against Philly for Green Bay. Jalen made some big-time plays with his legs. Now you're watching, their whole defense feels faster with Micah around. And obviously Micah's speed is, pretty elite for an edge rusher. And he does feel, it's pretty rare in football, like Buffalo. Are they truly a player away? I feel like on defense they need a couple players. Like the Green Bay looking at it, and they kind of feel like they were a player away, truly.
Well,
I'm not saying the Bills can't win the Super Bowl, but I don't know if they were a player away, so maybe that's how they justified not making the trade.
Green Bay didn't want to trade Kenny Clark, but the truth is they did, and they're fine.
Yeah.
They just draft well. You go to the last 30 years, they draft well. When's the last time they missed on a wide receiver or a tight end? They just don't. Well. Yeah, so, all right, here's a game that there's a lot to discuss. Seattle 31, Pittsburgh 17. It looks like Seattle had a dynamic day offensively. They didn't. Pittsburgh gave them a touchdown. It was 14-14. It felt like for a long stretch. I had the under on this game. I felt great until Caleb Johnson forgot the rules on the kickoff. So, again, this game, my 2 takeaways before I get to the botched play by the Steelers. They can't run the ball. It does feel a lot like the Jets offense. It's an average offensive line. just like New York. They can't run the ball. They averaged 3 yards a carry against Seattle. Aaron had a couple of picks. He was 18 for 33. One of his receivers made a mistake in like the red zone, ran the wrong route. So I listened to his post game today, and it sounded a lot like Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, where he's playing with some young guys that aren't up to his speed. And truth is, Aaron's really smart. It's hard as a young player to be up with him intellectually and cerebrally because Aaron's playing upstairs another level than most guys, like an older Brady. So, my take is I said this before. I think this is one of the ones I'm right on. I said they won't run the ball because Tomlin can't figure out the O-line. The O-line will be maybe better than the Jets, but not great. It's going to feel like a much more refined, polished, well-run version of the Jets. And I got to be honest with you, John, that's what the offense looks like.
You said average offensive line. That feels like a stretch to me. I might even go below average. And maybe once you start paying all these guys, I would put Cincinnati in the same kind of vein. The offensive line, like with the resource, because if you miss on a draft pick, all of a sudden Aaron, who can't really move as well anymore, even when he makes his great play scrambling, it feels like he's kind of moving in quicksand relative to the guy that we knew a decade ago when he was younger. Their offensive line's getting him killed. And to me, the thing is, one, how often you're going to see 10 points scored in 2 plays. They kick a field goal, they kick it off, and when he touched Caleb Johnson, who I was high on, I liked at Iowa, is clearly
I think he's a bust.
Disaster for them.
Disaster.
I mean, that play, I don't. If you told me next week he's inactive, as of like we talk about a guy that needs a break. Like, what was that? He just quit. Maybe he doesn't know the rule, which to me would also be on the coach, and they have a great special teams coach. But that was. They got the ball back. They kick a field goal, and it is 24-17, and the defense just needs to get to stop. Well, they're paying T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward's getting a raise. They get these two DBs. If they're a defense, they're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Seattle goes right down and scores a touchdown. It's like, well, if you were going to be decent at all this year and be real, like, okay, this is finally the year with Aaron Rodgers, you can win a playoff game. You were going to be a top 2 or 3 defense, and the defense right now through 2 games is nowhere near. I mean, Sam Darnold throws a couple picks early in the game. This should be a game that they dominate this team. Seattle's got one wide receiver who's an excellent player, but it's not like they got some potent offense, in terms of the skill.
No, Seattle can only win one way. It's got to be low scoring. It's got to be, Sam had an occasional big play. Aaron, when he throws the ball to DK Metcalf, then he had one of the tied it in the end zone. Aaron still throws that red zone ball as well as anybody in the league. But the question is, how often with this O-line and run game are they going to get into the red zone? Aaron needs certain things, protection. He throws a beautiful ball, those back shoulder throws. It's gorgeous. It's as good as anybody that's ever thrown it. But I look at Pittsburgh, and between the snafu on the kickoff, the lack of the run game, it is exactly the Jets, but it's just a much less chaotic organization. Everybody loves a good MVP story, and the story of Wasabi Technology is one of the best. Wasabi is purpose-built to free businesses from skyrocketing storage costs, unpredictable egress fees from old and top-heavy legacy providers, the big guys. So Wasabi is the world's hottest cloud storage company, becoming the go-to provider for pros and collegiate sports teams and leagues around the world, and here's why. Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cybercrime, data deletion, ransomware, protection from all that stuff. Wasabi has taken the lead in driving innovation in data storage, eliminating overhead where it matters to delivering results you can count on, and it's not going to break the bank. In fact, Wasabi's up to 80% less than the other guys and doesn't charge a cent for businesses to access their own data. So Wasabi's another championship story. Check them out. Free at wasabi.com, wasabi.com. Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage, proud partner of the Volume Podcast Network.
Well, exactly. And isn't that, Mike Tomlin, this $15, $20 million coach, they're going to be, you would just say, hey, they're going to be buttoned up, a well-run operation, even whether they have the high-end talent or not, they're going to be buttoned up, and they're going to be tough. Well, I'm watching this team. They don't physically look as tough as they've been in some of his heyday teams. And buttoned up. I mean, they got this rookie out there that doesn't even know what's going on, just hands over 7 points in a game that, I mean, that was the game right there. I mean, once that play
Yeah.
happens, it's like that derailed them, which it would derail any team. But how can that happen? And the old adage, you're coaching allowing it to happen. How are you having the kid out there if he's been that big of a disaster for you to even put him in that situation? I think their roster. And listen, maybe I overrated a little bit because they're forcing
Yeah.
obviously, they're putting him out there. He's their best option. Maybe they're not as good as you think. And Aaron Rodgers getting peppered. I'd say the same thing about Cincinnati. I'm like, I think they could be. Well, if your offensive line is a shiv and can't block a soul, the NFL. I mean, I don't. You can play average teams. They're going to have some pass rush. Your quarterback's going to get killed. So unless you got
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson back there, these guys are going to get hit. And all of a sudden, is Aaron Rodgers at this the way it's going right now? Is he going to make it 17 games at this age?
I
Getting
don't
peppered like he
know.
is?
And by the way, it's Aaron had an eye roll moment, and then he called out a teammate at the podium after. He was right, but generally, I mean, Bo Nix could call out three of his teammates today. They that kick, they had the game won. Bo Nix is not going to go to the podium and call people out, but that's Aaron's sense of value that he's just going to do it. So it's feeling to me a lot like the Jets, where Aaron's going to call out teammates. He's going to have weird body language. There'll be the occasional eye roll. He'll be like, well, we got some young players. Listen, go watch the Denver-Indy game. Denver made three idiotic Sean Payton and Bo Nick. That's just part of pro sports. The game is fast. The rosters are younger than they've ever been. So I listen, Seattle wins one way. It was a nice win for Seattle. I mean, if you go into the season and you're like, hey, we go on the road and beat Pittsburgh. I don't care how good Pittsburgh is. That's a big W for them. That feels great.
100%. Totally agree.
Okay. I want to talk about this game. It wasn't because I'm never going to do this and not talk Niners. Niners beat New Orleans 26-21. So I had a couple of friends. They're like, why pay Brock Purdy? They're laughing. Mac Jones goes 26 of 39, 380 yards, 3 TDs, no picks without Brandon Ayuk. Excellent on third down. They had 345 total yards. It is, and I think Kevin O'Connell has this. I think McVay, to a degree, has it. I think Brock Purdy moves much better than Mac Jones. But as you noted this week in your podcast, Brock Purdy is hurt again. So they got a pretty team-friendly deal with Brock Purdy. But Mac Jones, who was, he was done. I mean, the league had said, you're done. And I looked at him today, and John, if I'd have never seen him play, to go on the road, he was pretty impressive, was he not?
Yeah, early on it was a little bumpy, and even he said, he's worked on his breathing, he was amped up, and Trent Williams essentially looked at him and said, "Relax, buddy, we're going to be okay," and he calmed down. But as the game went on, he played really well. Saints defense, I think, is pretty bad. They're back seven, so you're not. It's a little like playing a Miami, and defensively, he's not very good. But Kyle Shanahan liked this guy coming out for a reason, fits his scheme. Like you said, Purdy to me is a much better player. But as the game went on,
much better athlete. Yeah.
Yes, they actually have. I'd say Purdy has a slightly better arm, but neither guy has a great arm. McCaffrey's healthy right now. He's making a lot of plays. Ricky Pearsall through 2 games looks like a player. Like Ricky Pearsall's really good. Juwan Jennings is healthy. He made some plays today. And Kyle Shanahan, here's what the thing I'll say about just in general. If your backup if you have a guy that's on a big contract for a starting quarterback, and you can go on the road, whether you're playing the best team in the league or the worst team in the league. And the Saints are not. The Saints actually are better offensively. I think Rattler's looked okay, and they got some pieces.
He has. Spencer's looked okay.
I would say this. Your backup quarterback can win you a game. That is a massive win. You earn a contract immediately with 1 win. And if you have to start 2 or 3 games and you get me 2 wins out of 3 starts, you're worth 15, 20 million. You're underpaid.
That's right.
Robert Saleh, here's the other thing. They let a lot of guys go. And it wasn't easy for Kyle, who cares. And we talk about drafting when coaches get a big say in the draft room. They look at the depth chart, not at the future 5 years, because Kyle Shanahan's not thinking about 2028. He's thinking about week 2, 2025. Robert Saleh has been an ass kicker so far for him. Bosa looks incredible. Fred Warner looks incredible.
Look at the Steelers defense, which has given up 400-plus yards in 2 weeks. Look at what they pay for their defense. It's the most expensive in the league. Look at the names of the Steelers defense. Fred Warner, Bosa, and a lot of who's that, and they've been excellent.
This is also where schedules matter. And when I went to your show in the summer and Edelman came
Yeah.
on, he got offended by it. Don't ever say a schedule is easy. Well, that's the Belichick and him talking. Some
Yes.
schedules are easier than others. And going
Yes.
on the road week 2 at the Saints instead of having to play the Ravens or the Packers is a big
Yeah.
deal. And
Yeah.
are you winning a game in Green Bay or in Buffalo with Mac Jones? No. But when you have an easier schedule, and listen, the Niners, we talk about coach quarterback combination. Just go offensive and defensive play caller. Niners are as good as anybody. Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh. And they have a
Yeah.
couple easy games. They take advantage of it. Seattle wasn't an easy game by any means, but this
Yeah.
game is. They get the Cardinals, and they got to do it without Brock Purdy. It is, you know, someone came at me in my DMs on Instagram and was like, Purdy really has only missed a couple games in his career. Well, one major injury he had happened to be in the NFC Championship game, so they had a
Yeah.
9 month break. That's a major injury. So he's had a major elbow injury. He obviously has a pretty major injury right now. I mean, if he's got to miss
Yes.
potentially a
If you're
month
missing
playing,
5 or 6, yeah, it's a major
so
injury.
these are big injuries. He missed a game last year being banged up. That ultimately my point is like you need him to be available, and it is like he's a smaller player. This injury is a
Yes.
little weird because you didn't even notice it on like the Burrow thing. Like guys get hurt is part of the deal, but a lot of times you see it happen on the field. When you don't
Yes.
see it, it's like when did that happen? Just wear and tear. But the 49ers, two out of the last 3 years where they deserve credit, they value the backup quarterback. Sam
Yeah.
Darnold 2 years ago. This year, Mac Jones. Kyle's very comfortable in the guy. He believes in the guy, and it works. Because we see some teams the last couple of years in Miami when Tua goes down, they basically just fold.
Yeah, and I just think I think we know there's some really good coaching right now, and I think San Francisco between Kyle and Sala is a top 4 team. I think Minnesota's, the Rams, Kansas City, obviously, but I do think you look at what the Steelers are paying for their defense, and you look what the Niners have, which is 2 elite players and then just guys. I mean, Hufanga was a great player that is now at Denver. Not a good player, was a great player, was a Pro Bowler.
All pro.
So all pro. So it's Saleh. That's why he quickly got a job. I still think he should deserves a second head coach. If you fail with the Jets, it's like I don't even count it. Right?
I give him 2 years. If their defense is good, he's definitely. I mean, he'll get some interviews. Maybe it's a little too quick, but he'll be a head coach again. I mean, it feels like inevitable. Too high level of a guy.
Okay, New England beats Miami 33-27. So, first of all, Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins are a cautionary tale. If you pay a B quarterback A+ money, you get into trouble. So the roster isn't much. The defense is probably the worst defense in the league. Listen, New England needed that Antonio Gibson return on the kickoff. They found a way to win, and that's what New England is now. They need everybody. Ramondre Stevenson had a great game for them. The running back who they got, I think, from Oklahoma years and years ago. He had one of his best games as a pro. Drake May was fine. He's settling in. I think he's just a guy that needs another year. I just think of all those guys had more starts. They were more polished. I don't think Drake May, again, but he's 19-23. He's not throwing interceptions. So, again, it's Miami. But I thought overall, time of possession, New England dominated. They're not going to be. Tua had a huge pick, which helped seal the win for New England.
Awful. Yeah.
It was an awful pick. Do you think Mike McDaniel lasts the season? Football season's here, and if you want to go to an NFL or college football game, Game Time is the place for you. The Game Time app just gives you the advantage back to you, the fans. It's a hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in a few taps. I love it. Easy to use. The Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price, 100%. So they even let you preview your seat on the app. That's special. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay every time. Take the guesswork out of buying professional football tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account. If you use the code Colin, COLIN, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code COLIN, $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
I think they deserve some credit today. They had a little more fight and spunk in them. I think most people would have bet on this game to be like a 23-3 just beating of just the team quitting, and they definitely did not quit. I think you're a pretty easy grader. B for Tua. I might go like C plus. He could have B plus games, but I'd say over the course of the season, because the moment the weather turns, he just kind of falls apart. And
Yeah,
whenever
yeah,
they have to leave Miami, if he's turning the ball over, he's probably like a C minus player.
yeah.
Yeah, I just think they went all in on the Tyreek Hill thing, and he had historic year for him a couple years ago. But this thing, all the off the field noise, he's not near the same
It's
player.
so Miami. It's all sizzle.
Yes, I mean they draft Waddle 6 overall. Again, Waddle's a good player, but can you imagine Jim Harbaugh drafting a small, quick wide receiver number 6 overall in
When
the
you
draft?
have Tyreek Hill, or
So it's just
or did they draft Waddle pre or post Hill?
I think they had traded for. I'd have to look. It might have been a year
Yeah,
before, or it might have been the
yeah.
same year they traded for him earlier in March. Regardless, I mean, it's like that. It's not the way good teams build their squad. I mean, the Chiefs got Tyreek Hill, and now, granted, there was because off the field, but in the 5th round, like if you're going to take wide receivers that high, he better be Julio Jones, size wise,
Right.
physicality. And here's where I overvalued New England. A win's a win, especially on the road. Their roster is not as good.
It's
Like their
not.
schedule, it's why I bought into their schedule. But like their teams,
They
Christian
don't,
Gonzalez
John,
is pretty important
they
to them, and he's kind of has some durability questions early on in his career for sure.
yeah, I mean, a lot of this is in this league is juice. Like, I mean, when you watch the Rams, Devontae Adams today. Oh, okay. He and Stafford are playing. Now it's Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, Puka Nakua, Jared Verse. The Rams have 5 or 6 players. You're like, oh, they've got juice. They've got guys. New England just doesn't have enough. Again,
No.
Ramondre Stevenson had a great game. Gibson, tremendous game. But I think I was like you. I looked at the schedule. I thought the Dolphins were circling the drain. Jets are the Jets. And I just looked around the league and I just thought, I don't trust anybody. The Indianapolis Colts are absolutely better than I thought. And New England is not as good as I thought today.
Yeah, to me, if you had to say there was one playoff spot, who would you bet on Indy or New England as like a 7 seed? It wouldn't even be
Easy.
hesitate. Honestly, Indy, like they can win that division, right? I mean, they have a lot of offensive talent if Daniel Jones is going to play
So
like
let's
this.
talk
And part
about
of being
that.
a dome
Indy.
team is like he's not playing outdoors in a lot of these games. So their
So
team speed was evident today against one of the fastest defenses in the league.
yeah, Colts beat Denver 31-28. They get a do-over, a mulligan on the kick at the end of the game because of a penalty by Denver. And I got to be honest, the Daniel Jones resurrection, again, he's mostly a distributor, but he's a big guy. He can take a pounding. Give him credit. He can take a hit. He's a big, strong kid. He moves pretty well. And, and I like Brian Dable, but Shane Steichen, and maybe it's just because, to your point, the Colts have a better roster. I mean,
Yeah.
Chris Ballard, I texted him this summer. I'm like, nobody wants to admit this, but I'm like, you have good players. Like, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's a top 5 back. Warren today,
Was
he
excellent.
made, oh my God, he made Bronco linebackers. I mean, he was cutting back, and he's very good after the catch for a tight end. But Denver really struggled when he got the ball in space. And again, they have Pittman, Pierce. I mean, they're good. I mean, Indy's got good players. They're not a great team because Jones isn't a great quarterback. But to drop 31 against Denver, a hyper aggressive team with the best corner in the league and that led the NFL in sacks and probably will again, my takeaway today was I made a mistake. Indy's better than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, we have an example. To me, his comp coming out of Duke was Alex Smith. And we saw Alex Smith. Those guys aren't physically gifted enough. If it gets weird, if someone doesn't believe in them, it can look really, really bad because their floor is really, really low. But if they get in the right spot, Alex got with Harbaugh, then he got with Andy Reid, and it wasn't debatable. Like, he's just a good player. Now, how good? No one's comparing him to the top guys, but you can win double digit games and make the
Yep.
playoffs with this player. And you could argue that Daniel, even relative to Alex, and Alex was older when he resurrected his career.
Yeah.
It felt like than Daniel is right now. it feels like Daniel's a little bit more explosive as a runner, maybe a little bit better arm, and you're watching him play
He's a
today.
little bigger. He looks
Thicker for
bigger.
sure. Yeah, Alex was
Yes.
felt a little slender. Alex was tall as well, but you watch Daniel run, you're like, this is a big dude. Breaking tackles, falling forward. So I'm just they're skill guys. I mean, Pittman's a really good player, physical, over
Yes.
the middle guy. One
Warren's a
thing
star.
I think sometimes in the draft, and some teams just if they abide by these rules, and you're going to miss sometimes. But let's use the Bears. They like Loveland more because he was a more explosive athlete, a little twitchier. Well, I think sometimes we overrate the testing because Warren, when he tests, is not going to test as well as Loveland. But if you watch Warren, let's say against USC last year, you're like, this guy is just a freak.
17 catches. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you watch him today. Well, that's as fast of a defense as there in the NFL. And he's juking guys. He's running by guys. He's just you can't fake just being a good player, right? Charles Barkley had no business at 6'4" being but he's just an instinctive. He's natural. He's a great rebounder. Well, he's not 7 feet tall, but he'd get rebounded over guys that were 6'10" because he was instinctive. You watch Warren, like, that's elite football instincts. So what do? They get him the ball in space and just let the guy make plays. And this is where Shane Steichen, his value comes in. Like, I knew Bo Nix was going to bounce back today. I'm like, well, Sean Payton, they're not going to let a game. Now, he had a pick that kind of killed him at the end.
A terrible pick.
Bad. Yeah. And I expected Denver to win that game. To start, I had money on Denver. But
So
Bo Nix bounced back, showed some.
Yes.
Denver has a lot of speed. Like, if you just compare them to Kansas City on offense,
How
they
about-
got a ton of playmakers.
Well, I mean, Franklin, kid from Oregon, Mims, Cortland Sutton, their tight
Multiple
ends,
running backs.
Harvey, J.K. Dobbins. No, Denver's personnel is strong. That Bo had a really bad pick. He's an intense kid. He and Sean were barking at each other again late in the game. But I think Denver, I feel very confident saying this, they're a playoff team. I think they'll win.
I still think they can win the division. I was a little surprised at the end of the game that Steichen was very conservative. He doesn't have Brandon Audrey kicking field goals. I mean, the guy wasn't even close. I thought he'd be a little aggressive. His offense had been good. This wasn't a 7-7 tie game. This was a high-scoring, explosive plays.
He got a break.
Had been playing well. He got very lucky. He played for I don't know how long
a 58-yard field goal.
Would the ball travel 46 yards? I mean, it barely even got to the white on the back of the end zone. He got obviously that rule you can't jump over the snapper or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, I thought he got bailed out for bad coaching right there when he had coached a great game.
Same. Yeah, I was the same way when they just kept running the ball into the line. And by the way, by the second one on third down, Denver sniffed it out. Denver's like put 8 guys in the box. And I'm like, Coach, you don't have a kicker that's going to hit a 59-yard kick.
And Sean had no timeouts. He had them on the ropes. He's got big-bodied skill guys when Warren and Pittman. Like, it's not like you got a bunch of tiny little T.Y. Hiltons out there. Like, you could just run 5-yard curls and just move you don't have to even throw the ball down the field. But they got lucky to win. That game that's one for I don't know, Denver. That's you're going to lose some sleep over that loss.
That's a bad flight home. That's one of those flights.
Throws three touchdowns in the first half. You're like, God, are they going to win this game by double-digit points?
I mean, you were up 28-20, I think, 28-23 late. I mean, the game was really yours, and you were driving.
Their guy missed a field goal, right? Bounced off the uprights. That killed him.
Yeah, I mean that is as tough a loss. I mean, that's why Jimmy Johnson always says, man, nothing's going to kill you more than players that aren't good above the shoulders. They just made, and J.K. Dobbins is a smart guy, but I mean, he spiked the ball, and it's like, it was only a small penalty, but it's like, guys, get it under. When you're on the road, you have to be more buttoned up emotionally because they're going to call stuff on the road. They're not going to call when you're at home. Okay, Rams 33, Titans 19. Jared Verse and Byron Young wreaked havoc against Tennessee Titans tackles. They have a very good offensive line coach. But this was a classic game. Devontae Adams emerged with 6 catches, a touchdown, 106 yards. Puka was great. Kyron Williams was great. As we said earlier, the Rams have about 6 or 7 guys. Brandon Frisk is one of these guys. Verse and Young today. They got about 6 guys in their prime. If Devontae Adams, it gives you this going forward. Puka had 8 catches, 11 and a half per catch. Devontae had 6 catches for over 100 yards. And I was watching him today. I thought this was going to be a close game. And Cam Ward got sacked 5 times. It just, again, everything was speeding up for Cam Ward. I thought he looked a little bit more poised against Denver than he did at home against the Rams. But Green Bay is the best team I've seen, and Philadelphia is second. Could I argue that the Rams are the 3rd best team in the league?
League would be strong, but I'm with you. This was a very impressive win. You had the Titans in the Blazing 5, didn't you?
I thought the Titans were 5.5 at home. I thought it was and Rams don't score a lot. When Devontae Adams emerged, I'm like, oh, okay, this is significant.
I love the Titans in this spot, and I'll never gamble on them again. I promise you that. That 10 a.m. kickoff for these, for the Niners and the Rams today, that's difficult on your body clock.
That's one of the reasons I bet Tennessee.
I don't care if you're playing the Titans and the Saints. That's tough kickoff moments. You're eating like a pregame meal. It throws off. The Rams flipped a switch, I thought, in the middle of this game. It was like, you guys are not on our level. And I'm with you. I thought Cam Ward kind of freelanced a little bit more today. Does make some.
Yep.
He had 1 touchdown pass across his body that was called back that was pretty awesome. But it's like, you can't really function and win like that. But Devontae Adams is a really good player. Now, is he in his heyday, what he was with Aaron Rodgers at this point? No. But you've said this, and it was pretty clear. They thought it was a big upgrade over Cooper Kupp. And Devontae brings them. They got 2 wide receivers they can depend on. If Stafford, I didn't know because he had been banged up. I said, hey, back issue, 37 years old, but he has looked pretty good. I mean, he is making some throws so far this season. You're like, holy! If they would sign up for the playoffs to start right now because their guy's healthy and they could beat anyone. So I'm with you. Now, over the course of the next 3 months, is that back issue just gone? Is he getting weekly shots? Because if he's healthy. Here's where I will agree with you. They can beat any team in the league. And they can play on the road or at home against anybody.
Yep.
To me, it all comes down, like they have the pieces. It's him. We saw them last year. We're the only team that gave the Eagles any sense of a push down the stretch of the season in the playoffs. But does he look like he has the first couple weeks making some of these throws in December and January? Because if he does, then they can win the Super Bowl. If he doesn't, I think it's fair to question. I mean, he just missed all of training camp because his back's funky. And at any moment, that's one of those injuries that you just never know. And that's the same thing like with these guys with turf toes. These aren't like a rolled ankle, you're going to get a couple weeks, or I break a leg, I know it's 6 weeks. Like the back thing, it's like, it could be good for a month. You meet people old and young. All of a sudden it comes back. It's like, I can't even get out of bed. So to me, and I've said it from the beginning, it all right. He's out, I'm out on them. Right? I know McVay likes Jimmy Garoppolo. If he's in and he's playing well, he's just healthy.
Yep.
I believe in them against any, or give them a shot against any. I don't care who they're playing, Green Bay included.
So I want to end with this: is that a lot of times people think injuries are just bad luck, and I think for quarterbacks they're not. I think there's reasons Joe Burrow keeps getting hurt. He's not terribly thick. The Bengals owner is cheap. They don't have great offensive lines. There's a reason he keeps getting banged up. Is that Joe Burrow, I think you can say it now, is a little injury prone. Brock Purdy's a little injury prone. But when Justin Fields, so Buffalo blew out the Jets, it wasn't competitive. There's no reason to spend any time talking about it. But Justin Fields, who is a big, strong athlete, if he walked into a room, any room you're standing in, you'd be like, who's that dude? He is a pro athlete. He's hurt again. And I think I thought a lot about when he got hurt today, and I thought, that is the value. One of the things Bo Nix does really well for a young quarterback. I mean, he changes plays at the line of scrimmage a lot. Now, he had 61 college starts, but he did it today against Indy twice. He went up there, and he just changed the total play. He moved everybody out, and I'm like, okay, that's pre-snap stuff. He saw something he didn't like, and he moved into it. And in one of the instances, he got rid of the ball much more quickly. In that, with Justin Fields and some quarterbacks that get hurt, when he got hurt again today, I kept thinking he's too big, strong, fast, and nimble to keep getting hurt. If I say Justin Fields and you had to guess, you would say he's had 4 different injuries, would you not? It feels like he's been banged up a lot in his career.
Yeah.
And I'm watching that today, and I'm like, God, he gets banged up a lot. And again, the game's not, I mean, Buffalo's going to win that division for as long as they want. They're just going to, if you told me Buffalo wins 10 straight AFC East starting today, they probably will. But I think some of these young quarterbacks, the value of pre-snap is that you get rid of the ball. The value of judgment is you don't get hit. I don't think it's just happenstance that by the way, Brady didn't get hit a lot or Eli never missed starts. I don't think it's all luck or bad luck, John.
Well, I would say this about Fields. I honestly, after 2 series at my TV situation, I turned that game off. I mean, it's like this thing. I was shocked it was 30-10 or 3 or whatever the final score was. The Bills could have scored every single drive they wanted to. It's not even a fair fight. I'm with you. They are going to win. They are the new Patriots in that division. They've won, I think, 4 or 5 straight years. They're going to win that 12 straight years if Josh Allen's healthy. Fields turns into a running back, and that's one of his great skills is with the ball in his hands as a playmaker. Like, he's as talented as most guys in the NFL. So he takes shots. And I think when you look at Lamar, when you watch him play, like, he'll just plop down. He just gets down. He doesn't take these big shots.
He didn't his first year. First year, Lamar took some heat. He took shots.
Gotten way better at that. I'd say Kyler has improved, realizing, like, I got to be careful. But these are some of the great athletes. They don't have the muscle that, Fields is definitely thicker than those two guys. Obviously, Lamar's bigger than Kyler. To me, the Burrow thing, like signing Justin Fields, I know he had an all-time great game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Turns out Pittsburgh might just be terrible on defense. Like, Justin Fields kind of is what he is. The Burrow thing, when you don't invest in your offensive line and have a poor offensive line, especially with a guy like Burrow, he's a sitting duck. He's going to get injured. And it doesn't parallel each other exactly, but the Andrew Luck situation, their greatest attribute is they are willing to stay in that pocket a little bit extra and throw it. Phillip Rivers, all those guys were so big. I've said this forever. When I first got into the NFL, and even after started going to these games, like Raider games when I was working in radio, every quarterback that came out, Carson Palmer, the Mannings, they looked like NBA players, small forwards. They were huge.
Yes.
I remember we did the Fox thing and Carson was there and I was like, I didn't realize how big Carson Palmer was.
I went to a party at Hugh Hefner's, the late Hugh Hefner. It was
LACC.
And Peyton was there among a million. There was a million people there, and I think Donovan McNabb. It was just a party in LA, and it was nothing. It was I got in. That tells you it was in the middle of the day. And Peyton Manning was the biggest guy there by and I'm 6'2", buck 9. Peyton, I looked like his little tiny brother. So but we have smaller quarterbacks and it's a more athletic position, but I don't think all injuries are bad luck. I think there's usually circumstances that provide a path to why you're getting hurt.
Yeah, and I just don't think the Joe Burrow thing's sustainable. I mean, you can't get banged up this consistently because you're getting peppered constantly, and maybe some of it's on him. Holds that ball a little bit extra,
a little longer.
I mean, the organization is. We talk about a marriage just destined to fail. This situation is just gonna get ugly because we know how stubborn Mike Brown is. I'll say this. I know he threw some interceptions today. When Jake Browning was in college, and I'd followed him, he was a Folsom High quarterback in Sacramento.
No, I followed every snap at Washington.
I wouldn't have bet that he made it through one training camp without just being cut, and maybe not even make it through OTAs. He didn't have an arm. He's a capable player. Like that individual, that human being deserves a ton of credit. I would have bet thousands of dollars that he wouldn't make it more than one season, even on practice squads, Colin. And he's going to have, what do you think, a 14-year career when it's all said and done, just as a backup playing in the league forever? And today is the game-winning touchdown as the Drew Brees moment. I mean, what a cool – I'm blown away by that guy.
Jordan Palmer texted me once because I was saying, Jake Browning doesn't have an arm. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's small. He's got like a CFL arm. Jordan Palmer goes, you're wrong. Watch this guy. The next week, he just flies through the NFL. And again, I think when you're a little smaller and don't have a big arm, you have to be better pre-snap. You have to be better with accuracy. So I think all of us know that, right? Like if you weren't the best looking guy and you wanted to date pretty girls, you had to be funnier. Like everybody knows what they could. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality for everybody. And so I think when you're a great athlete, like a Justin Fields or a Caleb, And I don't think it's necessarily intentional, but you've been able to run in high school and college and sometimes in the NFL and pick up first downs. It's like, do you spend that extra 45 minutes every day on film room, that tedious film room stuff, which you've already looked at 8 times, but Drew Brees will look at it 9, 10, 11, 12 times because he's smaller without a big arm and he's aging. And I think it's just the reality of this sport is that when guys get hurt, there's usually a reason.
I think the best example in the NFL of a guy who knows his game better than anyone is Jared Goff. He knows exactly what he does not have, and he will hit the ground. He will throw the ball away. Obviously, he can have games where he looks really bad, but there's a reason that guy is going to make $450 million and throw a ton of touchdowns when it's all said and done. Because you watch him today, he's got to be one of the slowest, if not the slowest quarterback in the league. He
Oh,
doesn't
he
have
is.
some enormous arm, but that guy, even Dak, Dak's a much better athlete. I mean, not even close.
Oh,
And this
yeah.
version of Dak now has a shattered ankle and a ripped hammy, and he could run circles around Jared just moving. So what Jared is able to do, and this gets back to the Caleb thing. Why would Caleb know how to check it down? When the hell's he ever checked it down? In college or the pro or in high school? No chance. So now they're trying to teach him that. It's not even that shocking that he doesn't listen. He's like, why would I do that? I can make all the throws. The problem
Well,
is
say,
the
yeah.
go routes and the bombs. That's not how the NFL really works. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady made a living throwing out routes.
Yeah, I mean, even Josh Allen. I when I watch Josh Allen, I don't see him change the play at the line of scrimmage a lot, and I don't, and I always think to myself, well, he probably tells himself, I'll just make it work, I don't think of Josh Allen as a guy that's moving traffic and hey, barking and I'm changing. But I saw Bo Nix. Bo Nix is small. He doesn't have a huge arm. He's more athletic than you think. But I do think men know what they're good at unless they're weirdly delusional. But most pro athletes aren't. But it was a hell of a day. I went 2-3 on my Blazing Five picks, and God, Denver hurt. That one hurt
Yeah.
badly.
Really quick before you get out of here, just because I know you're passionate about USC, but their
Yes,
crosstown rival UCLA, who fired Foster. Can we just admit in the NIL era that, and I grew up in Davis, where UC Davis, who used to be a football power, Chris Peterson played
yes.
there, bunch of coaches, but UC Davis and UCLA aren't that much different in 2025 when it comes to NIL. And UCLA, honestly, the only reason they're in the Big Ten is because USC needed a partner to bring. But their program is much closer to being, and the way they think about football, right,
Right.
is the Big Sky program than it is Ohio State,
Well,
Michigan, and Oregon.
when I knew Washington, Oregon, and USC would be just fine in the Big Ten, they'd be
And they
fine.
are.
And they are. I said it when it happened to UCLA. The good news for UCLA is they'll get Wisconsin, Nebraska, Ohio State in LA, and it'll fill their stadium. But they have no money. And it's ironic because the campus is in Bel Air. So it's probably the nicest campus nicest college campus. Palo Alto and Stanford's pretty
I'd
damn
say
sweet
Stanford and them are 1A and 1AA. You know,
in the country. So, I mean, it's just surrounded by wealth, but they have no money. Now, the basketball program, which is really the pride, Paulie in the basketball and John Wooden in the history, they get about $4 million a year, I think, in NIL, and that's if $4 million for basketball, and you can be an Elite Eight team every year. So the UCLA has, Paulie, they redid it. It's a great college basketball place. I love their arena. I think it's fantastic. It's got a great sense of history and it's current, but that football program is dead. It doesn't matter who you hire. There's no money for NIL. They don't have a Phil Knight. What's funny is it's an international university. They've probably got some of the wealthiest graduates ever, but none of them care about football. I was told when they joined the Big Ten, they were last or next to last in football NIL. USC just built a $300 million football program. Their NIL is $18 million a year, and they're paying Lincoln Riley another $80 million. That staff is expensive. USC is private. They don't have to announce what they pay, whereas UCLA is public, and those salaries for football coaches get listed. And so it's always been a program that is kind of fighting an uphill battle where Washington football matters. Oregon's got Phil Knight, but it's just not. It's done. NIL feels like it just killed UCLA football.
which is sad because when I was a kid in the late 90s, UCLA was really good. My cousin was a walk-on there, I think, in 2001, and he's like, at the time when I went there, we were better than USC, and then Pete came, and obviously it changed. But UCLA
Yeah.
football used to
Dick
get
Vermeil,
great
Terry
players.
Donahue.
And now I don't think a player, I mean, they would be more likely to go to like Fresno State or San Diego. UCLA, you watch them against New Mexico, and I only watched a couple series because the game was such a joke. It was like, is this really am I witnessing
It
this? Is
should have
this actually
been
happening?
worse. I mean, New Mexico got into like a red zone area twice and didn't get points. I watched some of it. It should have been worse.
When I see these lists, I know we got to watch Sunday night game of some of these potential coaches. Well, some of these coordinators at these big schools are making a couple $1 million. You think UCLA is going to spend
No.
$7-8 million on a head coach? They want to pay $2 or $3 million.
Deshaun Foster was probably making 3, 2, 5, and the coordinators are making 6
Yeah,
in LA.
that's what Dan Lanning pays his offensive and defensive coordinators. So what I just think it's sad. It's just sad, but this is not going to change. Like it's going to get worse before it gets better.
John Middlekauff, our Sunday pod. Good seeing you, buddy.
See you, Colin.